There's only one team that could help Chris Paul finally win an NBA championship. That is, if history repeats itself. And I already know what you're thinking, but it's not Paul fulfilling his destiny of finally playing for the Lakers. See, the Suns releasing Paul didn't really shock a lot of people. His $30.8 million contract was only partially guaranteed for next season. Then it becomes non-guaranteed by 2024. He's played in fewer and fewer games each season the last 3 years, and just came from one of his worst regular seasons of his career. You can blame it on age, but before he got hurt this postseason, his playoff stats were actually better than D'Angelo Russell, Marcus Smart, and since we're talking about point guards, he also had a slightly better postseason than Darius Garland when you compare their assists, turnovers, and player efficiency rating. Odds are he'll sign with one of the LA teams, or even return to the Suns on a cheaper deal. But right after he was released, Paul did say he still expects to play a couple more years with the contender. And if he noticed the eerie similarities between this NBA draft and the draft 26 years ago, he knows his best shot at not only winning a ring, but potentially creating a dynasty is by teaming up with Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs. Alright, hold up, before you think we're crazy, just listen to this. Before 2023, the Spurs have only had the number 1 pick twice, 1987 with David Robinson, and then 10 years later with Tim Duncan. So if there's one thing that we can guarantee, the Spurs never miss when they pick number 1 overall. Now let's look at the 1997 NBA draft. You'll notice it's shaping up to be the same draft we have this year. The guy who represented them in 1997 and this year was their owner, Peter Holt. The hype around the prospects have only been around the top 2 or 3 picks. And the consensus number 1 guy is a lanky giant that NBA has never seen before. While you can say the Spurs roster back then was way better than what they have right now, here's reason number 2. CP3 will be David Robinson 2.0. Before the Spurs drafted Duncan, they had a decent core, but Robinson just dealt with nagging injuries that ultimately ended his career. When you look at Paul the last 3 years, it's the same story. CP3's already proven he can't win it all with another superstar guard, and he's made 13 straight postseason appearances. Now would be the best time for him to finally have the front court superstar he's never had his entire career. Let's not forget, when Duncan came into the league, he had a mentor who was a first ballot Hall of Famer, whose only asterisk was winning a championship. This current Spurs roster doesn't have that guy yet. But add CP3 to that team, and another Spurs dynasty will be born.